What are some of the best tools that you're seeing folks in the real estate industry, whether realtors or investors, use right now to take advantage of AI, like AI tools?
I mean, look, the most obvious one, and it's sad that I have to keep repeating this, is obviously use ChatGPT every single day. Like spend 30 minutes on it every single day. Ask it questions that you don't have answers to, right? I do this even still today, where like I'm wondering, I'm sitting here going, I'm struggling through a problem, and I'm thinking about it, and I go, oh yeah, hold on, let me just pop it in real quick and just see what kind of advice it gives me. Whether, I mean, it doesn't really matter what it is. It's because you have to consider it. I kind of consider it like an expert in everything. Now, it will hallucinate, so be sure you double check. You have to know a little bit about what it's talking about, so to at
Yeah,
least know
yeah.
that it's not lying to you.
But it's like that friend that you can bounce an idea off of.
Correct. And I talk to it like that. Like I literally, my conversations are very fluid and conversational with the chat bot a lot of times, just because I'm working through ideas, I'm working through problems that I'm having, whether it be, even just a mental hurdle, or, feeling a little down about something. Like it's there to remind you, like, here's the steps to kind of get out of this. Here's the steps to do this. As a matter of fact, like, I didn't know anything about coding. I did know a little bit. Like I played around with some uh, Python and hacking and stuff like that in my earlier days, but um, I didn't really know much. I kind of lost interest in it when I got into marketing, and then I went into real estate and uh, came back. And like now with ChatGPT, is like I've already built two little fun side projects literally in the day. So if I just have an idea, I can kind of whip it up, especially if it's in a form base. I can whip something up and throw it out there and just kind of see if anybody's interested in it. It's fun, like fun little projects to do. Like I created Pong in like 30 minutes, knowing really I pretended like I knew absolutely nothing about coding and had it walk me through the process. And I created the game Pong, Tetris, Flappy Bird, all those things in like 30 minutes, knowing
Something that took
absolutely no
months
code.
and teams of people to do 30 years
Back
ago.
in the 80s, right? Yeah. I mean, it took an entire year or 2 years to develop it back then, and now oh, somebody doesn't know anything about anything, just can come on and just create it.
And I did that
Uh,
too. I asked ChatGPT to write me write the code to a simple social media app, and it wrote code. Now I don't know what it did. I didn't test it out, but it was pretty cool to see it do that in 10 seconds. I because my wife's a teacher. Um, I asked. This was when ChatGPT first came out. So she was formerly a history teacher before going into the business, and now she's back with her kids' private school. But I asked it to write a 500 word essay on George Washington, and it did. Spit it out in like 5 seconds, and I printed it out. And I asked her, I was like, "Hey, read this," and she read it. I was like, "Okay, how accurate is that?" She was like, "Yeah, it's pretty accurate." I was like, "Yeah, that took 3 seconds.
yeah.
3 seconds." No,
So
her
what's
her
her
teacher had
school?
on like she really doesn't like that. Um, but anyway, that's another tangent.
Well, that's what I was going to wonder is like, so what's her school's take on it? You have some schools that are sitting here saying we're banning it, school systems saying that we're banning ChatGPT, and it's like banning calculators. Everyone talked about, well, you're not always going to have a calculator in your pocket.
Yeah. Or
Uh,
or your Apple Watch.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's like yeah, it's computers too. Like our parents didn't have computers. Now every single classroom today they have computers, and many of them have tablets.
yeah,
So like I viewed it
Wikipedia
as
was
this.
considered
It's like
cheating.
we have highways and road systems, but what's underneath those? It's another road system. So computer language today, you can it's a lot easier to learn because you don't have to learn ones and zeros.
Right.
Like everything with computer language today is just a simpler version that breaks it down to something more complicated, and it breaks it all the way down to ones and zeros. That's what ChatGPT does, and ultimately, it's going to take the skills of the person to input the information to get the best results out. Because bad in, bad out, um, better in, better out, right?
Yep, absolutely. I'm a firm believer like ChatGPT is not cheating. Obviously, you can use it for like blatant writing and uh, schools should be adopting this to learn how to use it and implement it, because there's never gonna be a day in their life where they don't have access to it. If that makes
Yep.
any sense. Our education system is just so outdated, and it's absurd. We haven't really changed much since the Industrial Revolution, when we were just focused on making sure they know math and basic skills so they can go work in a factory somewhere. We have it all wrong, and that's the reason why we're so far down the totem pole when it comes to education and on the global economy. Um, but here's the future that I tell everyone is that the what in the rate of which we're moving, because now everything is language, like I mentioned earlier, if you can describe it, you can build it. And that's everything from applications to products, whatever. If you can describe it well enough, you can build it. And that's where I feel like a lot of people lack. And like, they try out ChatGPT and like, oh, I used it for my listing and it sucked. It got the numbers of beds and bathrooms. I was like, what? Of course, it's not connected to the internet. It knows nothing about it, nor would I want it to. But if you want it to create a good listing description, then you need to get really good at prompting it to give you the answer that you want. So what did I do? I created like a little form that agents can go to, and they just go, click a few buttons, answer a few questions. I think it's like 10 questions. They can set the tone of it. And I've researched some of the best real estate listing copywriters, and I've added their text to it. So whenever you spit it out, like you're getting an expert copywritten listing description in a matter of seconds, versus sitting there at the screen going, "Oh God, what am I going to write on this house? Like, it's got a pool, lovely sparkling pool
That's
in the
the
back."
worst thing. Like I hate it. And like
Yeah,
like you, I've 99% of my real estate license business has been my own listings, like my own investments. But oh, it's like it's the same thing. I don't know how to make it. And then you read like really good agents that have good copywriting skills. You like read that. I'm like, I want to buy that house. Just very well worded. So, but I have used ChatGPT for the first one. I was like, oh, geez, I wish this was around whenever I was flipping at scale. It would have made things a lot easier for me. But yeah, so that email subject lines, I've used it for entire social media posts. So something that I know what I want to talk about. So if I want to say, let's say in this case, how ChatGTP is impacting real estate, then I can put it in there and then I'll see what it spits out. And then you make adjustments from there. Hey, and like you said, talking to it. I'm like, um, focus more on boom. And then it spits out another response. And then it gives me a good, thoughtful piece of content to post.
yeah.
I'll do it with email, subject lines. Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially like I write a lot. I'm not a big, I wish I was better at video and putting videos together, because I'd imagine I have thousands of more followers. But I love to write. I always have. What this has done for me is allowed me to write much quicker. Everything that you read from me is not AI generated in the sense that I just ask it to write me something. I start with a baseline and I just basically create an outline of like, here's some things I'm talking about. I don't worry about grammar. I don't worry about structure. I don't worry about any of that. Then
Yeah.
I ask it to clean it up. I give it a tone, keep
Yeah.
my
It's AI
personality.
polished.
Yeah, it's AI polished, but I treat it like a freelancer, right? So if I was going to hire a copywriter, like here's my goal, like here's what I'm trying to accomplish, here's my idea, here's my thought. I give it to it, it spits it back out. I'm like, I kind of like that. I don't like the way you said this. Can you add some more of this to it? This is what I'm really trying to get at. Like, and then I'll ask it like, hey, shoot holes in this. What do I have that's wrong with this message? Like, how can I make sure that it's perfect and no one could argue it? And it'll give me some argument points, and then I'll go and research some of those, and I'll put those in there. Like that's not every single post that I do that, but every single post that I start with all has my fingerprints on it, because it's all my ideas, it's all my thought process written out in a basically an outline structure that I feed in the ChatGPT, and it spits it back. I'm like, perfect. Um, I do that so I have a local Facebook group here that has like 100 something thousand members in it, because we live in a tourist town, and we go doing restaurant reviews. So like I play around with it every now and then. And I'll just like, you're Anthony Bourdain, and it'll spit out like this. Like, well, yeah, I definitely did not use those SAT words. So like, dumb it down a little bit. But like it spits out these amazing, restaurant reviews because it literally legit. All I can read it and I can just hear Anthony Bourdain reading it.